Hey there everyone, in today's video, love is in the air, as I'll be talking about some of the ships in the Pokemon Adventures manga. I usually tend to stay away from ship wars, but this was pretty highly requested, so I decided why not make just one video discussing the topic. In every fandom that exists, people will tend to ship two characters together in a relationship, hence the name ship. Some ships are created based off canon material, such as two characters spending time together, whilst others are just completely random, normally called crack ships. For this video, I'm only going to cover 3 specific ships, for the sole reason these ships feel much more creator approved than the others. But before I cover those 3 ships, I want to throw out some honorable mentions. Blue and green, or old rival shipping, is a weird one, as we don't see the two characters interact much, but people still feel the two work well with each other. Green and red, or lucky shipping, is an extremely popular shipping in the community. These two honestly have great chemistry, and even a lot of scenes in the manga back it up, but it loses out by a smidge to another shipping on this list. And lastly, Gold and Crystal, otherwise known as Manga Quest shipping. If I'm being honest, this one's a bit of a personal favourite of mine, so I thought I'd include it. These two trainers clearly have a great friendship together, and Crystal does seem to have a crush on Gold. Gold, although a reckless and stubborn guy, isn't entirely oblivious to these things either, and a pairing like this is the definition of opposites attract. Now with those said and done, let's get straight into the main topic. First up, we have a pretty widely known ship that exists, that being the shipping of red and yellow. It goes by the name Special Shipping. If you couldn't guess, this is a reference to the title of the Japanese manga, being Pokemon Special. The shipping between these two isn't one I can wholeheartedly say is straight up canon, as it's way more one-sided than the other ones on this list. For anyone out of the loop, Yellow is a trainer who admires and crushes on Red, and this is shown to us many times in the story, and even recognized by other characters in the story. In the first 2 arcs, Red shows no romantic interest in Yellow, as he only views her as a guy who helped in the final battle against the Elite Four, and also took care of Pikachu for a while. At the end of the Yellow arc, he even jokes saying that they should all stay together as Pikachu likes both of them. All this comes from the fact that Yellow is disguising herself as a boy, and also not telling Red that she was the child that he saved in the Viridian Forest 2 years ago. Of course, we also can't forget about the Red Thread of Fate. If you don't know what that is, it's a popular Eastern Asian belief, and it's an invisible string of thread that connects 2 people's pinkies together, and if they do connect, then they will be destined to be together forever. It is used quite often in Japanese media, and Pokemon Adventures is no different, as in the final battle, Yellow uses her Butterfree string shot to connect the hearts of her and the trainers below, and you can probably guess who was on the other side. Time flies and we get to the end of the Gold, Silver and Crystal chapter, and things get revealed to Red that Yellow is in fact a girl. Once the final battle gets wrapped up, Red blushes even more when he's getting teased by Green about what he once said. Other than these 2 scenes, we don't really get to see much more of Red's feelings for Yellow, but that doesn't stop the writers from giving the fans of this shipping more fuel to their flames, as the Fire Red and Leaf Green arc gives us more moments shared by this pair. And because of all these reasons, it's clear to see why this shipping has so many fans. Now we move on to 2 more shippings that are so concrete that you could argue aren't even shippings and just canon relationships. First up being the shipping of Ruby and Sapphire, or more commonly known as frantic shipping. When I made a poll asking about everyone's favourite shippings, this one led the group by quite a large margin, and it's not really a surprise as to why. These 2 trainers were, in every meaning of the phrase, made for each other, with the once battle-hardy, now elegant Ruby, and the once gentle and timid, now wild Sapphire. The 2 trainers shared a past, where as I said, were a boy and girl who followed the stereotypes of their gender roles. Despite this, they were the best of friends who would never be split up from each other. And although they never said it to each other, they both shared a crush on one another. One day, the 2 were attacked by a wild Salamence, leading to Ruby having to risk his life in a Pokemon battle against it. Despite the danger, he managed to chase it off, not without leaving a harsh wound on his head. Because of this, Sapphire wasn't able to look at Ruby the same way, feeling afraid of the way he looked while he was battling. And with this incident, the 2 would be filled with regret, and became what they thought the other person wanted. Ruby pursued beauty over power, and Sapphire pursued power over beauty. Afterwards, a domino effect caused by this incident would occur, and Ruby would eventually move away. Years passed, and the 2 would reunite, now being different people. So different that when they meet, they don't even recognize each other. A ton of stuff happened in the story, and the 2 ended up falling in love with each other all over again, with Sapphire actually confessing to Ruby her feelings, without realizing he was the boy that she met before. In return of this, Ruby would also reveal his feelings to Sapphire, as well as the fact that he was the boy she had met before. Then a ton more stuff happens, including a final battle and time travel shenanigans, and once it's all over, Ruby pretends he has no idea about the confession the 2 made to each other. Because of this sort of acted as a retcon to the duo's relationship, and left a lot of people sour on the whole situation. After all, this was the first time 2 main characters in Pokemon shared feelings for each other seriously, but it practically got erased from existence and turned into a gag, even continuing in the next arc. This would be how the ship ended, but fortunately we got the return of the Hoenn heroes in the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire chapter. This short arc aimed to give the fans of this ship a proper conclusion, The arc follows Ruby trying his best to keep Sapphire out of the loop on the risk of the world ending, due to his desire to protect her. But eventually, he comes around and the two work together to save the day. Although they may not have had the characters specifically say "I love you" to each other, at the end of the day, things are pretty clear cut. Now for the other ship I call concrete with how it's written, being black and white, otherwise known as agency shipping. The name coming from the fact that these two are the only members of White's talent agency. The ship between these two, I'm just gonna say straight out, is my favorite and I'm 100% biased to it. Black and White are two traders who meet through very unconventional methods, with Black accidentally causing a ton of damage to some of the equipment owned by one of White's clients. White, however, takes him under her wing, due to the fact that she needed to borrow his Tepig so that they could have matching Pokemon for a movie she was working for. Because of this, the two shared a bond of boss and employee, with Black even always calling White boss, as well as Black having to constantly loan White his Tepig in order to slowly pay off the fee of damage he caused. In fact, for the majority of the arc, the two actually travel together. However, despite all this, these two trainers actually share one major thing in common, being that they both share a large dream that they strive to achieve. Heck, even the dex holder titles are the exact same, which is unique to them specifically. Because of this, the usually self-centered Black will slow his pace down for White, and the two have great chemistry in teaching each other different things that they never knew, due to their different outlooks on everything. So these two went from a work relationship to friends, and that's all fine and dandy, but now let's talk love. As the arc continues, White ends up going through a rough patch with her Pokemon betraying her. This causes her to go through shock and faint, and Black stays up all night by her side. Later on, Black gets offered to take part in the battle subway, but he refuses in favour of staying with White and keeping her company, being one of the only times where he's actively stopped his goal for the sake of someone else. Now spoiler alert for the end of the Black and White arc, but when Black is getting absorbed into the Lightstone, he reveals to White that he had planned to reveal the company logo to the crowd once he had won the Pokemon League, just like how the two had promised during the start of their journey. Even in his last moments, he thinks back to all the things that he owed her, wondering if he managed to make it up to her. And if this is how these two had to say goodbye, that would honestly be heartbreaking. But White also shares a deep care for Black, searching for the Lightstone over 2 years, and after a grueling search, she manages to find it. When the two eventually do reunite, Black is super shy about everything and tries to gloss over their reunion, but White just straight up hugs him and welcomes him back, and you can see the boy trying to hide his feelings. If that isn't pretty much canon, then I don't know what is. Before we wrap things up, one detail I noticed about these three pairs is that each of them have a matching Pokemon. For Red and Yellow, they both have Pikachu, who are actually in a relationship themselves. For Ruby and Sapphire, they had Plusle and Minun, but now they have Gardevoir and Gallade. And for Black and White, although she technically doesn't own it, they both had their 2 Tepigs. And that's all the ships I wanted to talk about in this video. I most likely won't ever make another shipping video, so make sure to enjoy this one. With all that said and done, be sure to subscribe for more videos on the Pokemon manga, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.